Okay, this is before I pulled out my Sony camera to start the vlog, but I found this golf cart, and I've never seen one of these before on Disney property, but check this out. Like, it looks like an old car, but it's a golf cart. Like, that's pretty cool. Like, I like that. Hey guys, so this is my first attempt at a vlog. Hopefully I will be doing this right. Because this is also the very first time I'm using this camera. I'm using a Sony a5000 that I got a few months ago, and I wanted to get some practice in with it before I left for Disney, but unfortunately I never had the time to, and I don't understand the settings too well yet on the camera, so hopefully the video will look alright. If not, I'm sorry. So enjoy this guerrilla style videography, I guess. So today I am at Fort Wilderness, and my plan is to try to find remnants of the old Fort Wilderness Railroad, which was a railroad they had connecting Fort Wilderness to their abandoned, now demolished water park, River Country. The plan is to try to find remnants of the railroad. If I can find just the wooden parts, that'd be cool, but my plan is to find the iron rails. And I don't know how much I'll be able to vlog because it is raining today, and this camera is not really waterproof. Oh, and if the audio sounds terrible, I'm sorry. I have these little like dead cats on it. If you hear some jingling like that, that's on me. These little flat things, I should just cut them off, but really I should, or just tape them down. But if you hear any of that, just know it's these little things on the side that are jingling. I'm going off of what Bright Sun Films said in one of his videos about the Fort Wilderness Railroad, about where it is. So we're looking for Loop 700, and it's like a pet walking trail, which looks to be right there, I guess. Cinnamon Fernway. And where does it say we are now? Okay, wait, so if those are the horse stables, then... Okay, so I think we're right here. And we gotta go all the way... Well, this will be a long walk. Okay, we're almost there. It says that 700 should be that way. But also, if you guys ever come here, I highly recommend going to see the Hoop-Dee-Doo Review musical. It's always so much fun, and the first time I went there, I actually went up on stage. I was the cowboy, and then one of the actresses actually kissed me on the cheek, and I think I was like 7, 8 years old at the time, and at the time I thought that was really disgusting. But looking back, I actually laugh at how much cringe I actually was as a kid. Okay, I think I may have taken a wrong turn, and now I have no idea where I am on the campground. I'm looking for Loop 700.
700 loop?
Yeah, do you happen to know what direction that would be?
I wonder, because we're at 1400, is right over here, so it should be that direction.
This direction?
Yeah, 1400 is right here.
Okay.
The 700 loop should be that direction. I do not remember which side of the road. I do apologize.
Okay, thank you so much. So I got some help from a nice cast member. He said his name was Ricky, so if Disney, if you're watching this, if you have a maintenance worker named Ricky, tell him that he was a big help. Okay guys, I finally found the area, and check this out. This is like the wood part of, like, between the rails, and if you go up here, look at this. There's a lot more of them, and that's not a piece of the rail, that's just like a pipe, like a hose or like something, but I am walking on the old Fort Wilderness Railroad track. Like the connecting wood pieces to the rails. How crazy is this? This train was in operation for a little over, I think off the top of my head, 5 years. And yet, these pieces of wood and leftover track are still out here rotting away, even after 45 years later after its closure. This is really cool. This is theme park history right here. This is really cool. So for a quick history on the Fort Wilderness Railroad, the Fort Wilderness Railroad was conceived as a mode of transportation for people who wanted to go to river country but weren't staying at Fort Wilderness Resort and Campground. So you would hop off a bus and then you would hop on the Fort Wilderness Railroad, and then it would take you through Fort Wilderness all the way to river country, which was connected to Bay Lake. And the Fort Wilderness Railroad was a cool mode of transportation, but unfortunately it wasn't exactly, how I put this, well made. You see, this was seen as a temporary thing because they needed a quick draw for people to come to Walt Disney World, so a water park was the best option. And because the tracks were laid down in a quick and time-saving, money-saving manner, the tracks were not properly kept up. And as a result, the curves on the track that would have allowed the train to turn began to straighten a lot earlier, and the tracks began to wear very quickly, which resulted in a few train derailments that shut the train down for an entire day until they could resolve the problem. Also, the locomotives themselves could not carry enough water to actually sustain the full trip, so about halfway through you would actually have to stop and refill, and sometimes the conductors didn't do that, or there wasn't enough water in it to begin with, so it stopped, which had to shut down the entire train, leaving many guests stranded. So all those problems aside, and the fact that the rails were beginning to wear and tear very quickly, and because there were no safety measures in place, like if you see in these photos I'm about to show you, there really was no safety measure in place, and there was not even a railroad crossing warning sign at any of the roadways, so it was up to the conductor to figure out if there was enough time to stop or not, and that would ensure an accident would happen, and one did. A little girl actually got struck by the train, and while she was not seriously injured, this was enough of a scare to put on the Disney executives and Fort Wilderness management to temporarily shut down the railroad until they could figure out what to do. Okay, pause for a second. So while I was editing this video, I tried to find a news article that lists the exact date that this little girl got struck by the train, but I have yet to come across a single news article from the Orlando area, or even Florida for that matter, that talks about this incident happening at Fort Wilderness. I'm not saying that it didn't happen, but also I have yet to come across an article that actually mentions it. There are websites out there that talk about the Fort Wilderness Railroad and talk about this incident. However, those websites do not list any news articles or sources either. So, again, I'm not saying that it didn't happen, because there has to be some truth to it. Otherwise, why would they shut down the railroad? So, I have yet to come across a single news article mentioning this, but if I do, I will mention it in a future video, or I'll put it up on social media. Just letting you guys know this quick update. And until then, buses were used as transportation, but over time they found that the buses were actually a much better option, and that resulted in the Fort Wilderness Railroad being shut down. Now, it was supposed to have a second iteration, or a second life, I guess you could say. Whenever they were planning Wilderness Lodge, which is my favorite Disney resort, they planned to include the Fort Wilderness Railroad as a way to connect Wilderness Lodge and another resort they were planning to build. But unfortunately, because of Disneyland Paris, Disney was in huge financial trouble at that time, and building another resort was not really on their to-do list, especially since the cost it would have had in order to actually build the resort and put down the railroad tracks more firmly this time. So that second iteration of the Fort Wilderness Railroad was also scrapped. And ever since then, these tracks have just been sitting here rotting away, and they're completely abandoned, and that's really cool. Like, just knowing these tracks and knowing the history behind them, and that I've actually found these, this is just something that I love. Like, I love Disney history and I love theme park history, so really just finding these tracks is enough to make me nerd out. And honestly, I wish I could take one of these pieces of wood home, just because I know what it was a part of. But I'm also somebody that thinks that preserving history is very much more important. So I'm not going to grab one of these railroad tracks to take home. I wish I could, but can't. Actually, as I was walking back, I think this is actually, yeah, this is part of the railroad. It broke off from there. Huh. You know, I'm not really taking one of these big pieces, and this one was already broken off. I just found it as I was walking past it. So, you know what? Yeah, I think I'm going to take this home and then maybe putting in a box or something and just properly display it so that way I know what this has been a part of. If you're ever in the area, go on Loop 700. There's a pet walking trail that can actually take you in plain view of all these abandoned tracks. And yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope this vlog was okay. This was my first time attempting to vlog, so hopefully this will all work out. I'll try to get better at this in the future, but until then, I am Brody Ashley, and I will see you next time on Worlds of Amusement. See ya!